We got this question that's offered, and it's a good question, I think. How do we know that the apostles died as martyrs, and do their deaths offer evidence for Christianity? And I can tell you on a personal level, this was an important issue for me when I was first examining the reliability of Scripture as an atheist. Because I know that there's a power, an evidential power, if in fact the apostles did die as martyrs for what they believed. And the problem I had was digging through the evidence from the 1st and 2nd century, trying to figure out, do we have good reason to believe that, number one, the apostles did die as martyrs, and that they refused to recant on their testimony. And those two things together I think are important. And there's a real broad range of traditions, early church traditions related to all the apostles. And some of these traditions are really better attested than others. And so that was something that was really difficult for me to kind of weigh through these. As a matter of fact, I've got lots of friends now who are examining these issues firsthand. How accurate are the individual traditions related to the death of Paul or Peter or Philip or any of these disciples? Well, here's one of the more powerful things that I found. Look, anytime you have a criminal case, you have both the evidence that you offer to make a case against a particular defendant, and the defense attorney is going to offer his own set of evidences to make a case for his client's innocence. What's interesting to me is the complete and utter silence of any ancient first century testimony that describes the apostles as living a long extended life, of doing anything other than the early traditions record. So it's not just that we have a set of competing traditions, the Christian traditions where we have apostles who died as martyrs, and secular non-Christian traditions in which the apostles lived long, comfortable lives. There is utter silence on this side of the argument. All we have are the repeated traditions related to the martyrdom. That, to me, at least gave me a little more comfort in saying, hey, it's not as though I'm weighing competing traditions. There are no other stories about the apostles aside from their deaths as martyrs in the 1st century. Now, is that powerful? I mean, couldn't it be said that lots of people would be willing to die for their faith? I mean, you and I might even say as Christians, we'd be willing to die for our faith today. But let me tell you, if we said that was the case, that would have zero evidential value. My death today, for what I believe as a Christian, has zero evidential value. But if I'm an eyewitness, somebody who actually saw the event, and then I was willing to die for what I say I saw, that would have great evidential value. And that's the difference. These are the original eyewitnesses. They would know if it's a lie. So while my death or the death of any religious believer in this century, centuries removed from the actual event, might be willing to die for what they say is true, the death of these eyewitnesses does have great evidential power. And so I think it does matter to our case. It's one of the strongest pieces of evidence I think we have in the 1st century, that the actual eyewitnesses were willing to die for what they said happened. And I think that is powerful.